The world woke up today to a reality we've feared for decades, but always hoped was just a geopolitical ghost story. As you watch this, the global economy is in a literal freefall. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow, 21-mile stretch of water that serves as the jugular vein of the global energy supply, has been slammed shut. In just 72 hours, 30% of the world's oil and 20% of its liquefied natural gas have simply vanished from the market. We aren't talking about a price hike at the pump. We are talking about the total seizure of global trade. From the neon lights of Tokyo to the power grids of Berlin and the highways of America, the gears of civilization are grinding to a halt. This isn't just a blockade, it is the climax of the Second Iran War, and it began with a series of events that changed history in a single night. The escalation didn't happen in a vacuum. On February 28, 2026, the world shifted on its axis. In a massive coordinated strike known as Operation Epic Fury, the United States and Israel launched a full-scale aerial assault on Iran. The primary targets were the regime's nuclear facilities in Natanz and Fordow, but the shockwave was political. Reports confirmed the death of several top IRGC generals in a bunker strike. U.S. President Donald Trump declared the goal was regime change to end the nuclear threat forever, but Tehran's response was immediate and devastating. Within hours, the IRGC activated its iron ring across the strait. Using VHF radio, they broadcast a chilling message to all commercial vessels: no ship can pass. This was followed by the deployment of Ghadir-class midget submarines and Yasin-class underwater drones, turning the shallow waters of the Gulf into a graveyard of EM-52 naval mines. If the blockade was the economic blow, the missile war is the physical one. Just this morning, March 24, 2026, the skies over Israel turned orange. Iran launched a fresh broadside of its most advanced weaponry. We saw the Fatah-1 hypersonic missiles, capable of maneuvering at Mach 15, piercing through the layers of the Arrow 3 and David's Sling defense systems. A direct hit was reported on a residential building in northern Tel Aviv, while cluster munitions equipped with 100-kilogram warheads rained down on central districts. At the same time, the Shahed 136 suicide drones that once terrorized Ukraine are now being used in swarms of hundreds to overwhelm the USS Arleigh Burke and other Aegis-equipped destroyers in the region. The U.S. has already reported the loss of 13 service members and damage to 17 military sites across the Middle East, bases in Jordan and Qatar. Yet the impact was instantaneous. Crude oil didn't just rise, it leaped, shattering the 126-a-barrel mark in days. With analysts predicting 250 is unavoidable. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Kuwait are effectively trapped. Their tankers, like the Skylight and the MKD-Viam, have already been struck by projectiles or drone boats. In Europe, the energy crisis has moved from concerning to catastrophic. Germany's industrial heart is stopping as LNG shipments from Qatar are cut off. In China, the manufacturing hubs of Shenzhen are facing rolling blackouts. This is the largest energy disruption in human history, 3 times larger than the 1970s oil crisis. Even agriculture is failing, as the price of fertilizers produced in the Gulf has surged by 28%, threatening a global food shortage by the end of the year. As of today, March 24, there is a flicker of desperate diplomacy. President Trump mentioned very good indirect talks with an unnamed Iranian official, possibly Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. A 5-day pause on striking Iranian power plants has been offered. However, Tehran's hardliners have publicly denied these negotiations, calling them a Western lie. Meanwhile, the Israeli F-35 Adir stealth fighters continue to pound IRGC positions in the Zagros Mountains, trying to neutralize the missile cities that house the College Far's anti-ship ballistic missiles. The UK has joined the fray, deploying the HMS Duncan and aircraft from Cyprus to protect what's left of the shipping lanes. We are currently in a window where diplomacy usually dies and full-scale kinetic war becomes permanent. If the strait isn't reopened, the world's strategic reserves will run dry. We are looking at a greater depression, triggered by the closing of a single 21-mile waterway. The question now isn't just about the price of gas or the survival of a regime. It's about whether the global order, built on free trade and open seas, can survive a total severance of its energy supply. As the Fajr 5 rocket batteries remain aimed at the horizon and the world's navies converge on the Gulf, we are witnessing the most dangerous moment since the Cuban Missile Crisis. The jugular has been cut. The only question is how much more the world can bleed.